Sikwamukele ehlelweni Kusile breakfast show mbukele. It is a Friday, a beautiful Friday morning. Lungelele bengivusela ekseni. Not going to act like I didn't greet you before singene emoyeni lomuhla. It's beautiful morning. 13 temperatures aphasi kakhulu lamuhla kumakhatanyana. Kodwa nje kuyathembisa ukuthi ilanga lisachubeka litawubalela kungako ke nami ngifake iskipa. Hayi ukuthi kunjani Lungelele, how are you?
I'm well, Sifisa njani ekseni.
I'm very well. Yeah. I'm excited. Do you know why I'm excited? Can you guess?
It's a Friday. Singena weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else? What else? Anyway, it is the NBA playoffs. Semi-finals are Kubeka sibonile ke Nikola Jokic. So when the Invalesingazange sake sayibona a historic playoff performance by Nikola Jokic against the Miami Heat, dropping a 30 points, 20 rebounds and 10 assists. It has never been seen ever in the history of the game of basketball. Excited to be discussing this development further. Lomhla elhlelweni nasakhulumisa tona tindzaba tetemidlalo. So bonile ke nama transfers in football news. Lamanengi, Lionel Messi has signed to Inter Miami in America, which shocked everyone. No one was expecting that. In fact, a lot of people were assuming ukuthi utawuhamba naye aye ku Middle East alandzele imali, but ke uvetile as reported by Fabrizio kutheni Lionel Messi uthite kubeke kwabasobala ukuthi it wasn't money motivated decision yakhe, but it's other factors la bese ke siyabona ukuthi ayavela start discuss further now luhlelo lusachubeka kanti ke na Karim Benzema simbone ukuthi ugcine asayinile khona Middle East. Ngolo Kante is also going there, and we do see the Middle East having an interest on a lot of badlali labanye laba English Premier League, labanye nje labasuka Manchester City bayabafuna. It's quite a lot of players sigatseke kubona ukuthi ma decisions abo bona atawuthini, but there's a lot that's happening khona imidlalo. But nje leshisa kakhulu ngiyo ema NBA playoffs lesibona khona ema Denver Nuggets seka leader 2-1 over Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler is still frustrated. We'll discuss that development further later on the show.
Alright, kanti ke phinza futhi ehlelweni lomuhla ekseni sida phinza sikhulumisana na PRO welibandla lelikhefu nemingcele mbonisa ibhembe nje busakhumbula ukuthi solo kubhalisa solo kuyachubeka kepha ke kuyaphela mhla ka14 June evini letako ngalesithathu umhla ka14 kakhulukati nje namhla sithabe sibuka wona umthetho we Voter Registration Act weminyaka wa 2013 yakhuluma ke ukuthi bobani abaqualifya ukuthi balibhalisele likhetho. I think la kuvedile nje lokubalekile mbonisi evini liphelile ukuthi vele kumele kube umvulo liswati loneminyaka lelishumi nesiphohlongo. Namhla ke sisedaba nje sibuka section by section lomthetho ukuthi lana kulesigaba lesi uthini kahle kahle lomthetho sida besibuka ukuthi bobani labati khanza babese sebaya disqualifyeka ukubhalisa nevalidation yayo i-voters roll. Lomhla ekseni ungayinza umbukeli kumanje sidaba hlwethe market nasibuya sathatha indaba tethu deswati.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eveni.
Ngephansi kwalomgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba letiya ngaleso sikhathi tindzaba letide magama laqosheme letitsembekile letitsinza tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni
kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo netemhlaba wonke jikelele. Siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhathi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulomsakato siphindze sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letichamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lowutiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.
Siphindze ke sikwamukele ehlelweni ngwane lomuhle sithathe tindzaba tethu talapha ekhaya. Mvunankulu Cleopas Dlamini sawungenele umhlangano wema-22 wenhlangano yekhomesa lo banjelwe edolobheni Lusaka eveni leZambia. Kulo mhlangano Mvunankulu ke umelele ingwenyama kanike wesekelwe indvuna yete emabhizinisi Manqoba Khumalo kanye nendvuna yete ngephandle Thuli Dladla. Umhlangano ke usachubeka kanike nyalo kukhuluma mengameli welive leZambia lose angusihlalo wayo ikhomesa. Asisithathe tinsambo siye khona eZambia kuva ukuthi engabe ithini inkulumo yamengameli Hakainde Hichilema.
As we discuss here, we must be mindful that we must do everything possible to bring stability in our individual countries, stability in our region, COMESA, and on our continent and the global community. Instability anywhere is instability everywhere. Don't we know it? We know it very well. From different angles, imported inflation in our own economies, obviously migration, loss of property, damage, dislocation to young people. Those can never be ingredients that we need to have around us in our quest to achieve development. We need
Ngenhloso ukuthi bantfu labasemakhaya nabo somabhizinisi bakhone kuba ingcenye yetinhlelo tetekuchwephesha letiphathelene netimali. Libhange leNedbank selisukumisela uhlelo lweNedbank Mobi Wallet. Ngekusho kwalosabambe kuba ngumphathi walelibhange empendulo Shongwe. Lo hlelo litawusita eMaswati ukuthi abhange aphindze ke atfumele imali kamelula. Shongwe bekakhulumana ke tfula lo hlelo lolusha enhloko yehhovisi yalelibhange eMbabane.
Libhange leNedbank emkhankasweni walo wekukhuthatha eMaswati ukuthi afundziseke ngetimali financial inclusion. Lelibhange selende ukuthi kube melula ukuthi eMaswati ikakhulu bosomabhizinisi labancane bakhone kubhanga imali lenganga 25,000 emalangeni kulolu hlelo lweNedbank Mobi Money Wallet. Lo sabambe kuba ngumphathi walelibhange empendulo Shongwe uthi kubhalisela lolu hlelo kumahala.
Kulula kakhulu ke kubhalisa noma ke kusebenzisa le Mobi Money Wallet. Udzinga nje ukuthi ube nenombolo yelicingo, cellphone number, ube nenombolo umatisi wakho, i-ID number, usebenzisa kona ku-register kulo Mobi Money Wallet. Le product lena ke itasisita kakhulu ukuthi sifinyelele kubantfu labaningi eMaswati lokufaka ekhathi labo labasetindzaweni letikhashane nasemadolobheni. Bosomabhizinisi labancane ke ngicabanga ukuthi batawujabula kakhulu ngoba lokhu kutawubasita ukuthi sebangakhona kubhadala tisebenti bangadzingi ukuthi bagibele bayofika lapho sinetindzawo tekusebentela khona pheceleti ema-branch.
Khethiwe Mdluli walelibhange uchazile ukuthi bosomabhizinisi bangakhona ukuthi baholele netisebenzi ngalolu hlelo. Kanti eMaswati lafuna kuba ingcinya lolu hlelo kufanele ke abhalise ngekufaka *140*41#. Lolu hlelo lolu luhambisana nemgomo welive wekumbandzakanya bonke bantfu ukuthi ke bafinyelele etinhlelweni letitfutfukile tetimali. Etindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni nginaThemba Shabangu eMbabane.
Litiko letekuchumana nebuciko likhutsata bosomabhizinisi ukuthi basebenzise litfuba lekucupha baphindze bathengise sigujana njengoba ke sisesinyenti sive lesimdzingako. Lokhu kuvetwe nguSakhile Dlamini losabambe kuba ngumcondzisi wetekuchumana kuleli tiko uma axoxisana netinsatheli talomsakato mayelana nesikhalo sesive sekungatfolakali kwakhe esigujana.
Eswatini lingulelinye lemave emhlaba lasukumela etulo ekuguculeni indlela lenzala yetekusakata salelisebenzisa isimanje manje njengokulawulwa inhlangano yakamhlaba yetekuchumana i-ITU. Lokhu kwenda ukuthi eMaswati asale athenga bosigujana kude atokhona kuthola imisakato lehlukahlukene yakuleli. Ngekuhlangabetana neMaswati, hulumende wenda siqiniseko ukuthi eMaswati amthola etindzaweni letidvute losigujana kungako emapose abayingcenye yaletindzawo letimthengisako. Noko kungmanje sekulukhuni kumthola.
Ku open in the market and the business ukuthi nanoma ngibana ngamcupha lo sigujana amthengise mbambamba. Lo ukuthi ba distribute through post kwakuyi intervention yelitiko ngekuthi bekusendeka le transition. So yelendela ukuthi le penetration icishe mhlambe improve within a reasonable space of time. Litiko belikhulumisene nalaba betiteshi tetfombe kokuthi nabangamane bahambe embili noma bayasukumela etulo lenza bayicupha lapho sikujana babende babe available siven ngoba phela le signal mhlambe le signal sivele sireceive vele ngile qhamuka kibo basethembisile ukuthi cha kukhona lapha kwendako towards that.
Dlamini uthi uma kwenteka sigujana lahla sithombe sive singasitakala ngekuthi sishayele inombolo yelicingo lethi 24046440 nobe 78559759. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Mbongwa Dube.
Live leSwatini linemsebenzi lomkhulu wekufundisa sive ukuthi sigucule indlela lesibuka ngayo bomake etindzabeni tebuholi. Lokhu kushiwo kumcondzisi wetemidlalo etiko letindlu nekuthuthukiswa kwemadolobha Kodoni Mbuli. Mbuli bekaxoxisana netinsatheli talomsakato mayelana nekuthi sibalo sabomake labanconyelwe kungenela likhetfo lwemadolobha akusiso lesijabulisako. Liteke litiko like laba nelihlelo lwekufundisa abomake kanye nebantfu labasha ukuthi bangatikhobosi nekufika tikhatsi telikhetfo. Kulamadolobha la13 latobe abambe likhetfo lonyaka. Bomake bangu-44 kanti-ke bobabe bona bangu-241.
Kule minyaka esihlanu le besi umuntu agijimisa lo hlelo ngisekelwe inhlangano yemaveke ladlala nawo mangisi Commonwealth Local Government Forum. Lokukhulu kakhulu lapho besikhuthatha abomake bomake kanjalo nabosisi la sesebancane ukuthi ingane nasebangetulu kwa 18 years bakhona ukuthi sibalungiselela ukuthi bangenele lukhetho lolukhulu nelukhetho lwemadolobha. So lesingakusho ukuthi kuvisana buhlungu lokuthi nasibuka letinombolo abomake labanconyiwe noma nalesha lenconywe athi sito lejabulisako bekunene. Umuntu uyadibuta lokuthi ingabe kuyini kusese kulokudlala esikhuliseke ngayo yini singemaswati lokuthi bomake nje asibanaki ngoba ngibona nabo labomake lesibabona ukuthi bakhetha wona lamadvodza. So into lebhlungu kakhulu. Kepha ke mina kuloffice la kami lebengilona leli khutsata lokuqhubeka lomsebenzi ngilokukhala nje ukuthi timali tethu letimali taka Commonwealth tabe sesheshe tiyasiphelela tathi noma kuphela kwangena emangisi futhi le uhulumende mangisi asisekela kuleli hlelo laka Joe Cox nalo libese luphela kanti ke lona sasesivele sicalile sinalo office la lobukele Commonwealth la kangwani lokuthi asesibuke lokuthi labo make kenyalo singabalungisela ngani specifically besifuna kubalungiselela lo lukhetho lolu nalo lukhetho kwelevele lolukhona lweparliament silive kufanele ukuthi lo mkhankaso wabomake nalabasha nalabakhubatekile nalabanjani lesibona ukuthi ba more disadvantaged in society bakhole lokuthi sale babonelwa.
Bantfwana besikolo lesincane sasePhemba sebaphinze ke bahleli emakhaya kulandzela kwekuthi bake bahlala umeke kubhidli kade betebe labe bawela ngawo umfula imbuluzi uma baya esikolweni. Labantwana bahleli phansi nje bebasekhosele bafundzela kaPhilani Maswati. Thishalanhloko wakulesikolo Steven Dlamini uthi kulesimo lababhekene naso abathi kwekuthi batawulanyulelwa yini futhi ke akwethembisi kwekuthi bantfwana bangahle babuye masinyane.
Sekubethe inyanga letisihlanu solabantwana besikole lesincane sasePhemba bakhosele kaPhilani Maswati kulandzela ukuthi kubhidlike tebetebe labe bawela ngawo umfula imbuluzi uma baye esikolweni. Shishanhloko wakulesikolo Steven Dlamini uthi sekube isikhathi lesidze solo ingabonakali indlela leya embili kanti nalapho bese bafundzela khona abantwana tindzawo tekufundzela tincane kakhulu.
Abantwana namhla basePhemba primary abatholakala esikolweni ngikubuka lesimo ukuthi sesizamile ukuthi manje lala sisitakele khona kaPhilani Maswati sibona ngathi sesithe isikhathi sisitakala sesithi ke asihambe siyowakha ngale asinthakele manje-ke wathi kusolakala ukuthi sigijima kakhulu. Sesigijima kakhulu asathi noma selokugijima kwethu uNkulunkulu sibamba ukuthi singasasidakali. Sifundisela emaklasini amancane kakhulu la. Kwakhiwa le tindlu mhlawumbe ema-ofisi la ngeke a-accommodate abantu mhlawumbe labanye ngo-20. Sineclass la grade 1 na 18 abantwana. Nala sihleli khona nje kuhlala abantwana abang-18. Kuthi kule ndlu encane lengale kuhlala abantwana abang-15 ka grade 2. Bese grade 5 naye kuhlala kule tindlu kuhlala abogogo. Sabacela ukuthi mhlawumbe umhlonishwa wasikhokhela yabona. Sangenisa kulamakilasi. Amaklasi amabili wona afundisela ngalo esontweni. Simo-ke lesende mhlawumbe ukuthi kume konke la nokuthi kuba asesime kuhlangane batali baye emphakathi bayocela indzawo la kungakhiwa khona isikolo. Sibuhlungu ukuthi akuloweleke.
Lendzaba solo isasentyetwa litiko letemfundvo kanye nemishini nebatali kutfola likhambi kuti bantwana bachubeke nekufundza futhi bafundzele endzaweni lephephile. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV ngibongosi Magagula kuManjonga.
Indzawo yemtapo wetincwadzi Lunyati Community Center iletha usito lolukhulu kubantu labasha basetfokotane nemacenzelo ngaphansi kwenkhundla yaseMaseyisini ngekubasonzetela lwati.
Ngano netinkampani letitimele tiyabambisana nemgomo wahulumende wekuhambisa lwati esiveni mahala. Indzawo yetemakhono Lunyati Community Center nanayo itibophelele kukhutsata bantfu labasha kutsi bafundze tincwadzi. Linde lihle mhlungu lobuke kusebenta kwalendzawo yemtapo wetincwadzi ukhuluma ngekutsi linganani linani lebantfu labasha labayivakashelako lendzawo.
Bese ngisho ukuthi ayisettle kakhulu and ukhanze ukuthi ngalesikhathi nasebafika ikakhulu bafika ngedlanisana leminingi lokuya bese sekuya sifaka empinjini ukuthi sevengazuthi seyincane sesidzinga engathi nga-extendwa le-information lelakhathi nayo singathola lokunye lokunengana.
Sibese sikhulumisana nemflomusha walendzawo kutfola kutsi kuba khona kwalesakhiwo semtapo wetincwadzi kumsita kanganani.
Le library yalatfokotane isite kakhulu ngoba siye sithole information ngebuningi bayo. La kule library kune internet ihlala ikhona. Siya siseshe internet sibuke tintfo lesitidzingako ngaleso sikhathi usheshe uyithole nempendvulo yakho.
Lendzawo yemtapo wetincwadzi iphindze isetjentiswe kakhulu bantfwana betikolwa letincane. Lobika-ke endzabeni yeSwatini TV nguThando Kuhle Mdluli ngisetfokotane.
Kutemidlalo umceceshi welikhethelo lesive lebantfwana labangamantombazane labangephansi kweminyaka lengama-20 Simphiwe Simelane uthi kuyamjabulisa kubona inhlangano yebhola kuleli idlalisa imidlalo yebhola etikolweni. Simelane uthi nyalo sekukhona lapho bangakhetha khona abadlali.
Inhlangano yebhola yakuleli isukumiseke imidlalo yetikolo yamantombazane laneminyaka lengephansi kwama-20 ledlalela live lonke. Lekumitamo ke yayo inhlangano ukuthuthukisa ibhola kusoka abantwana labancane lokuphasi kwemigomo yabo. Lemidlalo ke bayijabulela kakhulu baqeqeshi labadlalisa imidlalo yelikhethelo lesive. Umceceshi walolikhethelo lakuleli Simphiwe Simelane uthi lemidlalo sayitobanika labangabe sisebentela tukwako njengobe batokhona ukukhetha abadlali nasekumele kuyodlalwa.
Lengakusho iyasita ngaloko ukuthi kude le league ka women yema under 20. So if le league sayikhona la tikolweni kwenta ukuthi wena coach lo national team ukhona kuba na enough players longabakhetha. And nje I'm happy lokuthi FA usheshe waqala kutosita ku develop ibhola yethu ka women because as national team funa lama 20 akhule aye senior team atakhula njani nakude. So kukahle la tikolweni bayadlala ezibadlala la tikolweni sesiyakhona ke thina kubathatha athi lona utalented asesimthathe etajime ahlale ngala ku national team atokhula for the senior team.
Simelana uthi lo nyaka wayela kodlalela kuphakamisa indlebe yeCOSAFA njengaloku badlali bakhomba lizinga lelisetulu sibili. Labangaboni ukuthi bangavinjwa yini ukuthi bangadlali kahle kulena midlalo letako yeCOSAFA. Lobikela umsakazo weSwatini TV temidlalo ngiphathizwe Msibi eMbabane.
Tingakota lapha event bese kuphathele tona sibahlela emarket nasibuya sichubeka nelihlelo. Member states on the 1st of June elected Ambassador Dennis Francis from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago as the president of the 78th session of the General Assembly.
Allow me, Mr. President, to congratulate you on your astute leadership and management of the General Assembly during the current session. Your calm demeanor and steady hands lend to our deliberations an atmosphere of assurance and control that usually profits the multilateral process. Today, I stand humbly before this august House of Plenipotentiaries with immense gratitude to all 193 members for the confidence they have reposed in me to serve as President of the 78th session, an undertaking that is both an honor and a privilege. I have been overwhelmed and yet at the same time buoyed by the extraordinary demonstrations of support, solidarity, and goodwill that have consistently accompanied me on this journey over several months. My heart is truly full, even as I remain keenly aware that being called to serve as President of the General Assembly of the United Nations constitutes a weighty responsibility. It is often said that education is the great liberator, lifting people up the social ladder and strengthening society in the process. Not only is that assessment valid, it is a truism. I exemplify that pattern, having over the course of my career repeatedly found myself in places and called upon to undertake onerous responsibilities. Such experiences would not have seen the light of day had I not had great parents who appreciated the extraordinary power and potential of education, and moreover, having been part of a generation that benefited from an enlightened government policy that challenged and democratized the colonial practice, whereby education was, by state policy, reserved exclusively for the privileged, that is, only for those with the means to afford it. When, therefore, in the context of the SDGs, we postpone or neglect to offer support to the millions the world over who lack access to quality education, aren't we consigning them facelessly to an intergenerational cycle of poverty, degradation, and misery, from which they are hardly likely to emerge? It seems to me that the more pragmatic choice would be to do all that we can materially to save those children and young people from near certain defeat of circumstance, by affording them, through education, the option of choice, and thus the capacity to self-actualize to their own benefit and to that of their communities and societies. I find this to be a compelling argument for an all-out effort come the forthcoming SDG Summit to recommit and re-energize action to complete and deliver Agenda 2030 and the SDGs, the empowerment of people everywhere through the removal of the shackles that constrain their growth and independence and deny them any possibility of creating their own success. the pursuit of policies that support and encourage investing in people, and therefore in the creation of social capital in the medium and long term, is arguably among the most effective strategies for promoting and achieving sustainable development. It is education that brought me to this place and ultimately to this podium. And I am so proud and gratified to have been born in a country, Trinidad and Tobago, that for almost 70 years has ascribed the highest value to education. Allow me, therefore, to express my profound appreciation to my minister, Senator the Honorable Dr. Amory Brown, and through him to the government and people of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, for believing me worthy of shouldering this awesome responsibility as President of the 78th session of the General Assembly. Over the 40-odd years of...
That was it from that clip. Sibahlobethu Makethe, nasibuya sichubeka nehlelo.
Are they yours?
Ngabukela ke washa umkhukhu every Sunday at 3 p.m.
Welcome back. Sivusele nawe mbukeli sanza kusivulela lo mhlahleleni Kusile Breakfast Show besivedele ukuthi isidaba sikhulumisana nomxhumanisi welibandla le delegate for nemincele etinkundla nje mtakhombela ukuthi kubhalisa solo kuyachubeka kanti ke kuyaphela ivikini lelitako umhla ka 14 June abamfowela sebabhalisile sabayenqa etingulongwaneni letingemakhulu lamathafu 300,000 abamfo lasebabhalisile sesivele sinaye lapha umxhumanisi Mbonisi Pembe atusichazela nje ukuthi ngabe vele lena process ihamba kanjani mtakhombela ukuthi ivikini leliphelile besibuka nje labo laba qualifyako nalabo lokhanza ukuthi sabathikhanza sabadisqualified ekubhaliseni sinamhla ke sifuna ukubuka wona umthetho we Voter Registration Act ngomnyaka wa 2013 ukuthi uthini kahle kahle vele bubani lababhalisako bobani labangabhalisi nalabo mhlambe lokhanza ukuthi sebakhokhiwe kiyo ilist lababhalisile abakhala kanjani ba deputies afu labadivetako ukuthi vele abahlale kuleyo list le bamfula babhalisile sivusela babembe siyabonga ukuthi ube nathi nomhla ekseni kuma nje singakangeni nje kewo kakhulu lomthetho kusikhumbuta nje kafishana nje ukuthi kahle kahle bobani labavumelekile ukuthi babhalise sathi ukuthi kumele office likube liswati leswati futhi lelineminyaka lelingedulu kwaleli 10 ukuthi nje umumfu ufika ku disqualification kanjani.
Siyabonga ukusemukela emthombeni sivusele wena sivusele namaswati nabo bonke lababukele umsakazo wetithombe Eswatini nembala libandla solo lukuwo lomsebenzi wekubhalisa abantu olungisela lukhetho lokumsebenzi lomkhulu eveni lapho khona emaswati achubeka nekufaka sandla ekuphatheni lelive la nyalo sibabona ukuthi bafuna kenyalo kuyokwakha letinsika le foundation yahulumende emaswati siyawakhotsata ukuthi akachubeke abhalise umbuto boso uphendvulile kulokwekucala lokuthi nembala kubhalisa umvulo loluswati lona 18 kuya etulu phindze futhi kubhalise nebantu labangasiwo maswati nabo labaneminyaka le-18 kuya etulu yingci nje uma ngabe labo bantu labo bahleli lapha Eswatini ngalokusemthethweni iminyaka lengetulu kulesihlanu
kuleyo nkundla lokwenda ukuthi loyo muntu vele sesiyamati kufana ukuthi sengumfana wethu eMaswati sike sawabona idolo nakamukela bonkosazana nalamanye missionaries lapho khona lawo missionaries bekahlala nawo aze abaphe mabito kanye netibongo talapha eSwatini lokwenda ukuthi nembala lo muntu loyo wekuhamba kusuke abonakala ukuthi uyahlanganyela nawo eMaswati njengokusho kwayo umthetho-sekelo ku-section 88 bese sekuba khona ke lokuthi amvimbela umuntu ukuthi abhalise nobe ngabe uliswati ufaka ikhathi isigwebo sekuthi lo muntu loyo ugwetshiwe ukuthi uyawuthilikelwa lijele nobe ugwetshwe inzambo loyo muntu loyo ke lingci nobe aliswati angeke akhone kulibhalisela lukhetho phindze kube ngumuntu lo ngaphili kahle engcondweni futhi le nadokotela sebavedile lokuthi akaphili kahle engcondweni loyo muntu loyo naye akakhoni ukuthi angaba ingcenye yabo bamhlaba elikhethweni nakuthi ke lo muntu loyo uphindze futhi unesigwebo letithi ngesento lesitsite lesihlukubeta lukhetho inkantolo yabe sesiyabona lokuthi ayimdisqualify mulabo ke abantu labathathu labese baba disqualified ukuthi bangene elikhethweni nganeno kwaloko libandla nelive livulele onke eMaswati ukuthi angene ayobhalisa kungako nje na uthi sesendlulile emakhulwini tinkulungwane letinzathu 300,000 nemphala kuyabonakala ukuthi eMaswati asukumile siyakhuthaza ke ikakhulu laba labasha labeneminyaka le-18 kuya ku-25 ukuthi abasukume nabo ngoba sebavele sebabantu labakhulile lokufanele ukuthi basifake isandla ekuphatheni lona lelive.
Sisakhuluma nje ngako kubhalisa babebhembe umthetho ophinze ukhulume ngalabo bamvu labo eMaswati lahlala ngesheya kwetilwandle kumbe ngilawo mhlambe lafundzako noma lavele lasebenta ngale asahlala ngale uyasho ukuthi vele nabo bavumelekile ukuthi bangalibhalisela likhetho ngabe benda kanjani vele baxhumana neembassy baxhumana nelitiko letangephandle Ministry of Foreign Affairs intiphi tinyathelo kumele batithathe bona ukuze ukubhalisa kwabo kube impumelelo
bangeMaswati labamvu laba lengaphandle futhi siyakholwa ukuthi ngalenye ilanga batawubuya khona eSwatini njengaloku silwela ukuthi live sifuna silithuthukise balengephandle nje bayafunda nobe bayasebenza kukhona lokuningi labakubonako le bayafisa nobe sebabukile nanabo ukuthi kude ukuthi kwenteke tinhlelo letinjena naleti kukhona abantu lesingababuka ekhaya ukuthi engcenye bangakhona ukuthi balithuthukise live libandla ke lase liyavula tandla lokuthi nawo onke eMaswati ngaphandle kwelive akhona ukubhalisa bayasonzela ke kuwo embassies nobe bosiba likhulu lapho khona live leSwatini silibona nawo emahhovisi embassies etindzaweni letingidlulako eshumini libandla selike lativeta futhi nakuwo labo ngcondvomshini ema-social medias kwendela ukuthi aMaswati langaphandle athi lokuthi ngikuphi la fanele asonzele khona besibeka leli bito lale embassy neaddress yalo kube bengingakuthatha ngize ngiyokubeka kule strati lapho likhona siyakholwa ukuthi eMaswati atawuchubeka awo sonzele kulowo msebenzi bombasada sitshelile vele ukuthi bakhona lababhalisako sikhuthaza lamanye eMaswati langasengakabhalisi ngaphandle kwalelive ukuthi libandla litivulile tandla ukuthi wonke umuntu nasikhuluma ngawo wonke umuntu vele siphokophele kufika kulo 100% ngoba kude lesingathi sifuna kumshiyela ngaphandle systematically kangangokuthi ubonile nala ekhaya size sangena nasemajele la khona labanye bathi bekungakafanele ukuthi singene khona ngoba labo bakunene banemalungelo lasekagodliwe ukuthi bawa enjoy.
Ngifuna singene nje kulomthetho babebhembesiye ku section 14 la ukhuluma khona ngekuthi akukavumeleki ukuthi umva abhalisele umuntu longekho mhlambe longasahlala eSwatini kune fine futhi bamphela bayibhadalako nangabe bathatha ikhanza benda lokucala lokho ingabe vele mhlambe kulicala kanganani lokho imalini imali abayibhadalako vele
kulicala lelikhulu elikhethweni lokho lo moya wako mubi kangaka ukuthi lo munye ungakhanza ukuthi ubhalisela lo muntu hayi ngekuthi engcenye uthunywe nguye yini kepha umbhalisela ukuthi atoba nemathuba lamaningi ukuthi angawuvota utawukhumbula ke timiso telukhetho genuine elections mhlawumbe wadibeka ukuthi one principle ithi umuntu akabe nelivoti nobe emaswati akabe nemavoti lalingene lokusho ukuthi equal suffrage one man one vote umbukelana bese ubhalisele lo munye nobe sekabhalise ngemininingwane yala lo munye umuntu uyabe bese sewufuna ke ukuthi utawudoja loyo mthetho kungako ke kwase kushicilelwa emthethweni ukuthi angeke umbhalisele lo munye umuntu kuletinye tigaba uve bakhuluma ngabo proxy voting nabo proxy registration lapho khona ningakhona ukuthumelana ukuthi kwendeke lokho siyicizelela ukuthi umthetho uthi kulolu khetho laseSwatini lokho akukavumeleki ukuthi kwendeke nje labeka neliswati ke umthetho lapho khona ubeka ukuthi umvulota ubonakala ukuthi uyawuphoca lo mthetho angajika nasejele iminyaka lemibili nobe athole inhlawulo yetinkulungwane letisihlanu 5000 nobe akuthathe kokubili siyacela ukuthi emaswati ukuthi angakhanzi sekawela kulo umkhuhlane lowo lephinze futhi kwenda ku compromise le integrity yalolu khetho bekanzi sifisile lokuthi emaswati athole siqinisekiso ukuthi lolu khetho luhamba kahle nekuthi kude ifraud nobe inkhohlakalo lekhona kulolu khetho kungako libandla labeka nabo sochaka labaningi bongcondo bomshini lapho khona nangabe sekubonakala ukuthi inombolo dimbili tiyafanana kuyasho ukuthi lo mvulona sowubhalisile nalibona tithupha nobe leto tandla kuya ngekuthi umshini utabe usebenzise tiphi utikhanza setifanana loyo mvulo sokutawubonakala ukuthi sewubhalise kabili lokungendeka bese sokuwela kulesi lingo lesi ukuthi inkantolo ize imthole ukuthi sowunelicala imbeke imjezise angene nasematilongweni
ingabe nje babebhembe imvo le yenteka ivame kanganani nje kwenteka lena mhlawumbe nje nasibuka nje lukhetho leminyaka leseyindlulile 2013 2018 imvo levame kwenteka kanganani and nini nilibandla nivame kuyihandlisha kanjani phela
sitawuthi sibe nenhlanhla ukuthi uma kutalwa lelibandla i-Elections and Boundaries Commission lifike laba most effective la khona kufunza tinhlelo lobetendeka naitolo nakuthandi lapho khona ukukhumbula ukuthi nababhalisa emaswati bekungathathwa imininingwane yabo lefaka ebiometric lokusho ukuthi tithombe nabo ama fingerprints 2008 uyakhumbula saqala kuthatha tithombe i-voters roll yaba netithombe tebantu le kungilenye ifeature le kuyikhombisako nobe levetako lokuthi umuntu sowubhalise kabili yebo ke kukhona lapho sabona khona kwendeka labanye ukhanza ukuthi setivela kabili letithombe dabo ngetizathu letitsite libandla ke lakhona ukuthi likhone ukubopha lokho kungendeki tawukhumbula futhi lokuthi nchandi bokhanza ukuthi lamabito ebantu lama voters roll enkundleni utfolakala kuwo tonke letiteshi letikhona lapha enkundleni live laseSwatini aliselo lelikhulu kakhulu omunye umvu nje ngenkundleni angakhona kuyihambela yonke lenkundla ngelilanga linye lapho ke nangabe ukhanza ukuthi libito lakhe liyatfolakala kuto tonke letiteshi sekangakhona lo mvu ukuthi abe nelithuba lokuthi avote asengibekise nje esenkundleni yakalobamba ungakhanza ukuthi uyavota emphakathi wakalobamba uyavota izabeni uyavota enkanini uyavota kala elangeni uyavota futhi nasezulwini sekwenda ukuthi lo mvu loyo sowuvote emahlandla sekasihlanu abe ayedwana miningi imithetho la epholile netimiso etayo inzandvo yesive kanye nelukhetho lelu genuine leyo sitawuthi libandla sibulale lemabhodlela lokuthi lisheshe liyifunze leyo bese selenda ukuthi kuba naleti timiso letibekiwe letitakuvimbela lokho kukhona ke lokho labanye labaye bathatha emathuba sake samkhanza lomunye aphethe likhadi lemntalo wakhe nathi uyawuvota ngayo ngenhlanhla ukuthi nasisebenzisa le machine siyabuka i-triangulation sibuka wena sibuka i-voters roll sibuka naleli khadi loliphethe kulesa sikhathi lokwakuseneli khadi khona sakhanza ukuthi kukhona lokungasahlangani kahle kuloko sase sesimbeka iceleni beyinemusa ke i-commission yase yamjikisa ubuyele ekhaya nganeno kwaloko bekufanele ukuthi angene ngekhathi ayodiphendulela inkantolo ingalobucala bakhe.
Okay, makevakala. Ngifuna nje sichubeke nje sehle nawo lo mthetho babebhembe singene nje ku section 18. Section 18 ukhuluma ngalama objections ukuthi mangabe kukhona mhlambe eliswadi ethide lelingafuni eliswadi ethide ukuthi libhalise liyakhona ukuthi vele lihambe le object ukuthi limcele nini ezilibandla ukuthi cane ngikhokhele nomvuna ngidiza for tam le date ngicela ukuthi asuke kule list. Ingabe vele mhlambe uthini umthetho ngako lokho ingabe lona mhlambe yena labathaka kweshe uyakhona yini naye ukuthi lwela mhlambe yenkantolo kuhamba kanjani uhamba ufike phela umthetho lo.
Mthombeni utawukhumbula ukuthi ama-principles emthetho ukuthi ngiloyo mvakanikwe lithuba le ukuthi adikhulumele nobe aviwe kuleyo ndzaba leyo. EmaSwati-ke ayakuveta ukhala kwawo ngalama objections lapho khona asho ukuthi sekakhanza umuntu nobe akhanza abantu la bangabadi kulomango. Lona ngumsebenzi lelive litsatshulwe ngetinkundla laphinze latsatshulwa nangetikhungo tekuvotela phecelezi polling divisions lapho khona sifisile ukuthi bantu labahlala kuleyo tindzawo geographical positions kube ngibo labakhonako kuvota kuloyo mango. Kukhona ke umkhuhlane noma inkohlakalo leyaye kuvakala ungathi iyenteka lapho khona sekutawuthathwa abantu labangasiyo baleyo ndzawo bamenye ukuthi bahambe bayosekela umvutsite le utawukhanza ukuthi ordinarily ngabe laba labahlala kule ndzawo ngabe abamsekeli nobe abamati nekumati. Lo munye ukhanza ukuthi uyatiwa kepha ngalendlela yokuthi akasiyo lo mvula batamvumela potential candidate nobe agcina athola amavoti lamaningi ubese so uyaphumela ngaphandle so uyolanza so uyomema ihlobo takhe bangani bakhe ukuthi batomsita ukuthi aphumelele kulelo khetho. Umthetho ke welkhetho wakubuka lokho wase sewenda lokuthi awanikwe emaswati ilungelo lokuthi ayohlola lokuthi bobani labantu labatawuvota kulelo khetho lelo. Lo msebenzi lona uyaye uvele ke emva kokubhalisa ukhetho njengalokho kuya ukuthi nasesicacile singamaswati bese sesingena ku le inspection of the voters roll letawuhamba ize iyovala mhla ka-12 July lapho khona emaswati ayabuka siyacela futhi nemphakathi ukuthi ayisisite kwendeni lo msebenzi lona lapho kungabidwa nabadlakhulu kuhlalwe phasi kulubukwe loluhlu ngelikhasi ngemuntu ngubani lona lobhalisele siyamati yini nakathi uhlala ngemva kwasesitolo vele emva kwesitolo nguye ubukhona yini bantu labanjena labanye bakhanza ukuthi sebaningi nekakhulu lemva kwesitolo ngwapi lamakhaya lamaningi la kangaka emva kwesitolo siyacela nje amaswati ukuthi atinike isikhathi kustadisha ngidawuthi kustadisha le voters roll ngoba vele kuyadzinga lokuthi emaswati ahlale phansi abukisise ukuthi bobani labafuna kuyovota. Uma ngabe nibakhanza ukuthi kunebantu labangasiyo balomango libandla litawube linemafomu ngemphakathi lapho khona abantu bangabhala ukuthi lo wekuneneka smart sicela ukuthi aphume lo wekunena smart sicela ukuthi aphume. Bese ke libandla litawuthi masinyane liwathathe lawo mabite lowo lihambe liyosonzela kulabantu lesekukhaliwe ngabo libanike futhi nabo lithuba lokuthi batikhulumele lokuthi bachubekeleni kuba kuleyo nkundla lababhalise kuyo. Uma ngabe kutfolakala ukuthi bukhona ubufakazi lokuphathekako ukuthi nembala bangaba ingcenye yaleyo nkundla libandla litawukwenda ukuthi bachubeke ukuthi babe kuleyo nkundla. Uma ngabe kungatfolakala ubufakazi kungendeka vele banikwe emacala lokuthi banike imininingwane le engasiyo false information. Le false information kulicala or false statement kulicala esigabeni semthetho le khona uma ngabe inkantolo itapukhanza inelicala seyingakunika ke iminyaka lemibili nobe inhlawulo yetinkulungwane amashumi lamabili etinkulungwane 20,000 nobe kokubili etukwa lokho bese liyakhokha ekutheni ube ingcenye yelikhetho uhlale khona iminyaka lesihlanu okusho ukuthi nangabe nje ungatholakala ukuthi ngalomnyaka utholakala ukuthi unalelicala inkantolo iyakunika ithambo yodonsa iminyaka lemibili engcenye ukhanza ukuthi ude imali nobe unayo leyo kufayina uyakhona kufayina kuyakuthi ke ngale date lo fayine ngayo kuya phambili ufuna ukuthi uhlale iminyaka lesihlanu ungadimbanzakanye lokungenteka kusho ukuthi kahle kahle wena litakwendlula nalokho khetho la 2028 ngoba nakhona kufanele ukuthi sihambe siyobhalisa yingcina ngabe nje iParliament itawuthi asibuyele kule ndlela lesolo sibhalisa ngayo ukuthi njalo ngelikhetho lolusha sicalela phansi kubhalisa njengalokhu sicalele phansi nyalo kanti nangabe sitawubhalisa ngalokhu nganamkhawulo engcenye sokungaba nalo lithuba lokuthi ungabese uyabhalisa ngale kulomnyaka wa 28 siyaqinisekisa nje eMaswati ukuthi bosochaka bakhona kubamba tingwenya leti tawu nabemagundwane lafuna kube belalukhetho bese sesiyaxwayisa nakuwe eMaswati ukuthi angaweli kulesilingo lesi ngoba umthetho ukubukile lokhu siyacela ukuthi sibambisane silwendo lubexotho lukhetho loMaswati.
Okay, kuma sesiya njengasemaphethelweni babebhembe kusikhumbuta nje ukuthi khwenyalo siyadluka ukuthi mhla ka 14 June kubhalisa kuyaphela kutawulandzela mhlambe le validation netondiwa ngelolibandla kusithatha nje ukuthi emva kwaloko kutondekani kuze kufike elangeni legcina.
Angicale ngekunxusa eMaswati ukuthi singakafiki u14 June eMaswati akaphume ngetingane kakhulu laba bethu labasha nasibuka tinombolo tiyakhomba statistics ukuthi bona sengibo labasalele emuva lele eminye iminyaka enempela sebenyukile bantu sekuyabonakala nembala ukuthi eMaswati abhalisile sengibo nje labasalele emuva lesibanxusa lokuthi ababe ingcenye yawo lomsebenzi utawuvala kubhalisa mhla ka 14 kuyo inhlaba bese sesiyasukuma sesiyowenda umsebenzi kuyohlola loluhlu lwebambu lababhalisele ukhetho lapho sincenga onke eMaswati ukuthi akabe ingcenye yawo lomsebenzi loyo lotawuhamba nawo bese uyaphetha mhla ka 12 July na uphetha mhla ka 12 July sesitabe silungelela ukuthi sesiya elukhethweni bese siya isigabeni lapho khona sesiyongcoma siyophakamisa emabito ebantu le lamhla singakhona kuphakamisa emabito lamathathu kuya emabitweni la kamashumi lamabili ngesigaba kucopho elunga leParliament indvuna yenkundla emva kwaloko sazi sesiyahamba sesiya elukhethweni lwekucala primary election lesibhekile ukuthi sive sonke sitawushulungana ngalomhla ka 26 kuyo ingci 26 August siya elukhethweni lolukhulu kepha ke nganeno kwakhona sidabe sinelukhetho lolukhethekile phecelezi special voting lapho khona tisebenti tembuso labasematilongweni nalaba ngaphandle kwelive batabe bavotile khona seyangena emavoti abo sitokhona kuwabala nasesifikile esigabeni sekuyobala emva kwaloko umhla ka 26 njengaloko sishito ukuthi selukhetho lwekucala primary elections mhla ka 27 sesitabe sicale isigaba sekukhankasa lapho khona sibuke ukuthi labatabe baphumelele sebatawuba nelithuba lokuthi bahambe bawatisa nelibandla ukuthi batawukhankasa kanjani imali labatayisebenzisa nabakhankasa itawuba imalini netinhlelo labatawudenda tekukhankasa tinhlelo letime kanjani lete dasithatha ke sisiyofika kumhla ka 27 September lapho khona sitabe sivala kukhankasa kuleso nje kuphela inyanga yonke kusuka 27 August kuya 27 September sigaba sekukhankasa leso sitawuseke sesithi mhla ka 29 September sesingena elikhethweni lwesibili secondary election lapho khona inkundla ngenkundla seyitabe ikhetha indvuna yenkundla ikhetha nelunga leParliament njengalobo uxoxo sitabe siphume nabo ngelukhetho lwekucala yingcina ngabe umthetho usengakaguqulwa ngoba sikhuluma iParliament solo itsingisa dona letindzaba ukuthi ungabe sitawumisa njani kulolu khetho lwanonyaka la 2023 emthombeni.
No, ngiyavakala baba Bhembe sibangakhulu nje ukusiniketa nje le update ukuthi kubhalisa kuhamba kanjani. Phuthuma Mbukeli uhamba uyobhalisa nawo tinzawo tithechithisa ka event lonke kubhalisa kuyagcina mhla ka 14 June evikini lelitako ngalesithathu. Asibahle emakethe sithabe sichubeke nehlelo.
Lesi sikhathi lapho khona emaphoyisa agubha kuba khona kwawo even. Kulapho kukuthathwa khona sive ukuthi sike sihlale phansi sibuke bomcoka bemaphoyisa empilweni yebantfu. Siphindze sibuke tindlela letinsha tekuphepha kubo bonke bucala lobuveta sihloko. Sive sakangwane siyakhunjutwa ukuthi singawafaki emaphoyisa etinkulumeni tepolitiki ngoba liphoyisa alingeni futhi alingenelani nepolitiki. Emaphoyisa alwa nebucala netingoti temgwaco kuphela nje. Ingako emaphoyisa athi wonke umuntu eveni akahlale ngaphandle kwekunceneka ukuthi angahle ahlaselwe tilwane tasendle. Umuntu lohlala eSwatini akatiphilele atisebentele ngaphandle kwekwesaba kuhlaselwa kwemucwa nekucekelwa phansi kwembahla yakhe. Nawe wena lophathekile emaphoyisa athi digulele kahle uze uphile ngaphandle kwekuphatamiseka. Lokungenteka ngekuthi tidlova tingene tihlasele labo labakunakekelako kuleyo ndlu. Sive lesihlakaniphile nguleso lesiphakamisa kusebenta kwemaphoyisa nabo bonke labalwa nebucala. Ngale kwaloko timbungushe tiyawuwangenela emazinyane kungenamuntu ekhaya. Lo mlayeto niulethelwa ngemaphoyisa eMbube abambisene nomsakato wetithombe.
Siphindze sikwamukela ehlelweni ngwanelo muhle sikhathanya lokho esithola i-traffic update from Sergeant Begmuzigule. Sikuvusele Malambule ngabe nisebenze kanjani emigwaqweni?
Nasibuka umthamo wemotolo sowuvele ukucalile kuphakama emigwaqweni kanjalo nalo linanda labo labahamba ngezinyawo kugcizelela nje nokukhumbuta wonke losebenzisa umgwaqo kuthi la ukhona khona yenda siqiniseko sokuthi uyabonakala bese ke bashayeli benda siqiniseko kusinakela ikakhulukazi wonke logibele imotolo losebenzisa umgwaqo ngemotolo kanjalo nalo lohamba ngezinyawo. Kanti ke emadolobheni ethu embabane siyawukhumbuta sona sive ukuthi umgwaqo solo uyakhiwa na uqhamuka eTulu eSitwashini ungena lapha kubo iCourt utakhona isandla lapha esontweni laseManazareni noma ke la khona lapha eAssembly wakhiwa nje ke lo mgwaqo kuna stop and go imotolo adikhonge ukuhamba donke letiphumako ekhathi yesandla naletingenako iqhamuka khona eScott kepha ke siyawuniketana emathuba lesingakugcizelela nje kakhulu uhlonipha ikakhulukazi labo labacontrola yona phela itraffic labalawula kona kuhamba kwetimotolo baphethe tona tindwangu letibovu kuthina seyiphakamile lendwangu yakhombisa ukuthi uyamiswa asende njalo lapho bekunene ngoba lokho kuyawusela ukuthi kuhambeke kube lula kunekuthi imotolo tiyawuhlangana sesihlangana ekhathi ngokuthi munye nje webashayeli wehlulekile kuhlonipha ikakhulukazi lapho siniketana wona ke mathuba nekuveta ke ukuthi yona leyo ngcingwana bekunene asinake lokho ukuthi kuloyo mgwaqo kude steshi semabhasi lekwenda ke ukuthi mhlawumbe labo bashayeli uyawubakhanza sebeme ekhathi emgwaqweni siyakhuthaza nakhona bekunene ukuthi asichubeke sishayele ngalokukhulu ukucophelela sinakane kunalabo labahamba ngathi kuncola tekuthutha bakhona kwehla ngesikhathi kanti kulonye ihlangothi asivete bekunene ukuthi na usuka khona edolobheni elikhulu lembabane ubheka khona lapha endasi kumathapha nakhona siyaxwayisa ukuthi asicaphele labo labasebenzako emgwaqweni lomkhulu labasilungiselako ukuthi ukuhlale ungilolo sezingeni lelisedulu kanti ke tiba netemgwaqo embabane tisebenza kahle lapha kamanzini kumathapha kanjalo nalapha endasi yenhlangano lesingakuveta nje ke na uthatha umgwaqo long MR8 usuka lapha kuhelehele umgwaqo lobheka lapha endasi kubo Big Bend edolobheni lasesipofaneni na ungena nje naso sakhiwo lesisha lesakhiwako lesingasenxele lapho kune traffic circle le yakhiwako lapho noma ke kunalabo labasebenza khona ekhathi emgwaqweni labenda bekuthi kuhamba kwetimotolo kwehluke kunaloko lokudayelekile kuhamba ngekuconza siyacela ke kusakhona abashayeli batinake timpawu njengoba tibekiwe akhona ke amaphoyisa kuleyo nzawana leyo kulawula ikakhulukazi njengoba nabanye bashayeli bangakhona ukuhlolisisa kahle leto inkulumo letiphakanyiswe ngaleto timpawu temgwaco letikhona lapho siyagcizelela nakhona bekunene ukuthi asichubeke sishayele ngalokukhulu ukucophelela. Kanti kulonye ihlangothi potholes ayabonakala nawubheka khona lapha enhlangano ku-MR9 ayabonakala nawubheka khona lapha kubobhunya kubomhlambanyathi kanjalo ke futhi noma uqhamuka etulu kumathamo ubuya khona edolobheni lasesipiki uzofika khona embabane emgwaqweni ku-MR1 nakhona bekunene siyagcizelela nje kakhulu ukuthi asichubeke emehlo ethu abe ngilawo lakhaliphile kucenza yona ke indlela nekugcizelela kakhulu bekunene ikakhulukazi kulabo labathutha nasive ukuthi asende isiqiniseko sokuthi leti motor zethu ziphilile sinake ikakhulukazi litubane lesihamba ngalo sigweme kusebenzisa tincingo kusiko kuphela kulabo bashayeli labathusebenzisa tincola tekufutha kuwo wonke nje umshayeli siyakhuthaza lokho ukuthi asikugweme kusebenzisa tincingo emgwaqweni kulamalanga kunana umkhuba nje wokulivula ucingo ulibeke ku loudspeaker nako lokho akukavumeleke akukho nani emthethweni lucingo nje awulusebenzisi usemgwaqweni ngoba luyalivunga ingqondo luyayikhweshisa ingqondo yakho kunanga umsebenzi omkhulu wekuchuba yona incola emgwaqweni sifisela nje sona sive semaswati indlela lenhle nalephephile sisawusebenzisa umgwaqo nanendlela emsakazo simfisele lona langa lelihle yebona leliphephile sisachubeka nemsebenzi wethu siyabonga.
Sibonga kakhulu Malambule isikhathi sakho sethembeka ukuthi nebabukeli batawuthi icaphela leto tsikabeto letikhona emigwaqweni basachuba tincola sibahlola emakethe nasibuya sichubeka nehlelo.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
Kubhalisela lukhefa sekuqalile. Ngakho ke, faka sandla ekwakheni uhulumende wakho ngekuthi ubhalise. Bhalisela lukhefa estation sekubhalisa lesisedvude nawe. Kubhalisa kutawugcina amatili 14 inhlaba kulosetulu. 14 June 2023. Ungasali, zakha live letfu.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a look at international news. On 8th June, World Oceans Day will be celebrated worldwide, serving as a poignant reminder of the immense significance of the ocean in our daily lives. The importance of a healthy ocean cannot be overstated. They are home to 80% of the animal biomass, serving as a vital source of sustenance, nutrition, and livelihoods for millions of people worldwide.
It covers around 71% of our Earth's surface. Thursday marks the UN-designated World Oceans Day to raise global awareness of how to interact with it sustainably. This year's theme is Tides Are Changing and comes a week after global efforts to develop the first international treaty on plastic pollution on land and sea. According to marine experts, climate change remains a critical threat. Over the past 100 years, average global sea surface temperatures have risen per decade, warming the ocean with consequences such as ice melting, sea level rise, and impacting marine biodiversity.
There's two really big things we can do to help, and one is to reduce global emissions. We need to do that immediately, and also to set up large-scale protected areas.
Another major cause for concern is plastic. According to the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, at least 14 million tons of plastic are deposited in the ocean every year. making up 80% of all marine debris, from the surface waters to the deepest sea sediments.
In 1 teacup size of sediment in the Southern Ocean, we're finding at least 20 microplastics. So if you try and extrapolate that across the globe and across our oceans, we're not looking at billions, we're looking at billions of billions. So this is a really stark message to us, especially because we can't really pick that up. But what we can do is ensure that we only throw away plastic that we need to throw away.
According to the UN, delegates at last week's talks in Paris agreed to produce a first draft on the plastics treaty before the next meeting in Nairobi in November.
About 600 square kilometers or 230 square miles of the Kherson region in southern Ukraine was underwater on Thursday following the destruction of the Kakhovka Dam, the regional governor said.
More than a day after the destruction of the Kakhovka Dam, Ukrainian leaders say they are puzzled. Dozens of villages have been flooded, water reservoirs are lost. The Ukrainian president said he's in shock over the lack of reaction from his allies and international bodies.
What is needed now is a clear and quick response from the world to what is happening. It is even impossible to establish for sure how many people in the temporarily occupied territory of Kherson may die without rescue, without drinking water, without food, without medical care. Our military and special services are rescuing people as much as possible, despite the shelling.
Because many of the flooded areas are occupied by Russia, Ukrainians are struggling to evacuate stranded residents. President Zelensky urges help with those evacuations to save lives. He called on the Red Cross to deploy in the area. Zelensky has called allies including Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Emmanuel Macron.
Following that conversation, the crisis center of my ministry is gearing up to send aid to Ukraine in the coming days. This includes several tons of emergency aid, including medicine, hygiene products, and water purifiers.
NATO will hold an emergency meeting on Thursday to coordinate operations in the region. And the IAEA has offered to intensify its role in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant to maintain the cooling of its reactors and avert yet another catastrophe.
South Korea scrambled fighter jets after Chinese and Russian military aircraft entered its air defense zone in the south and east of the Korean peninsula. The incursion followed encounters between U.S. and Chinese forces in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea, which the Biden administration cites as examples of a growing aggressiveness by Beijing's military.
At least 2 incidents of close encounters between Chinese and American vessels and aircraft in less than 2 weeks, including this Chinese warship cutting closely in front of a U.S. destroyer in the Taiwan Straits on Sunday. The incident coincides with trilateral naval exercises in the South China Sea among the U.S., Japanese, and Philippine Coast Guards.
The U.S. made provocations first, and the Chinese side only responded by handling the incident in accordance with relevant laws and regulations.
Since you have disregarded our warning, we will take further necessary measures on you.
Encounters between Chinese and other nations' vessels, such as the Philippines, have increased in recent years, along with Beijing's military activity in the region. The U.S. is also adopting a more muscular approach, ramping up drills with allies in the region. Beijing considers these provocations, leading to even more incidents that could easily escalate into conflict.
It's part of a new and disturbing norm, particularly given the fact that there's limited communication between high-level defense officials in the United States and China.
The White House denies it's partly to blame and says it's trying to talk to Beijing.
We're working on this very, very hard, and the president's confident that we'll be able to get back to the spirit of Bali between the PRC and the United States.
At the annual Shangri-La dialogue in Singapore last week, Beijing declined Washington's request for a face-to-face meeting between Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and his Chinese counterpart Li Shangfu. due to sanctions on Lee that have not been lifted by the administration. Officials are working to reschedule U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Beijing that Washington canceled after it shot down a Chinese spy balloon in January.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is looking at how artificial intelligence can be used to help identify goods made with child or forced labor and prevent those goods from entering the country.
Each year, millions of people worldwide are forced to work in abusive labor conditions. That includes 160 million children between the ages of 5 and 17, according to the latest numbers from the International Labor Organization and UNICEF. To address this growing concern, U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has a new task force to explore ways artificial intelligence might help detect and prevent goods made from forced labor from entering the country.
We will seek to deploy AI to more ably screen cargo, identify the importation of goods produced with forced labor, and manage risk.
Tackling the problem at its source would be a big help, says Thea Lee, U.S. Department of Labor Deputy Undersecretary for International Affairs.
Well, I think artificial intelligence is an extremely powerful and potent tool of trying to explore how we might be able to marshal data that is out there. So, for example, looking at cobalt that might be mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where does that end up being transformed into lithium-ion batteries in China and then put into electric vehicle batteries that we would find in cars in the United States?
Artificial intelligence can also be used at the border to detect counterfeit goods made from forced labor or child labor.
Our largest port of entry that gets in that type of commodity is LA Long Beach, and they get in millions of containers a year of all kinds of commodities. AI can play a very, very big role in that just by connecting the dots, where it came from, where it's going, and by using these advanced algorithms, they can put together the puzzle faster than a human could ever do it.
While AI may be helpful, experts warn it's not yet foolproof and needs to be deployed with caution.
I do know it has to learn the environment. And when you're trying to learn an environment such as China and knowing how difficult it is getting accurate information out of China, what is going to prevent false positives from happening, and who's going to validate that the information that's being learned by this artificial intelligence is in fact accurate?
What is needed in addition to technology is the will, says Thea Lee.
We need governments and companies being willing to take the steps to put in place laws and enforce them and regulate them.
The AI task force is due to report its findings to Homeland Security in the coming months.
Almost 1 year after taking office, Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is getting mixed reviews from political analysts as he faces challenges domestically and abroad.
Ferdinand Marcos Jr. took office on June 30th, nearly a year ago, after promising voters that he would bring down prices.
A year into the Marcos presidency, I think that we have really yet to see any major achievements, especially for the lives of the ordinary people.
Cleve Arguelles heads the polling firm WR Numero Research.
Although much has been said about bringing down the prices of rice and other agricultural products or other basic agricultural products, we really have yet to see significant improvements in these areas. So I would say that in terms of the expectation to make Filipino families food secure, especially access to rice, that he wasn't really able to gain some grounds on that.
But Arguelles says Marcos' popularity remains strong in public opinion polls.
One explanation for this is that traditionally Filipinos do give their presidents a honeymoon period during the first year in power.
On foreign policy and defense, experts say the Philippines is caught in the U.S.-China geopolitical rivalry. Under Marcos Jr.'s predecessor, Rodrigo Duterte, the Philippines largely sided with China before starting to reverse course. In contrast, Marcos has strengthened security ties with the U.S. as tensions rise between the Philippines and China due to overlapping territorial claims in the South China Sea. But Marcos faces a difficult balancing act.
What he wants
you can say, is have the cake of stronger security cooperation with America, but also eat more investment and trade relations with China.
The Philippines and U.S. put on a power display at a 2-week joint military exercise in April. The Philippines has also agreed to give the U.S. access to more military bases. But Marcos has said these sites are not intended to be used as staging grounds for offensive action against any country. This comes as concerns grow about the Philippines' proximity to Taiwan and a potential war if Beijing were to try to retake Taiwan by force.
Yeah, once war happens, all chips are on the table. I mean, all bets are off. If a war happens, Japan is going to be involved, Philippines is going to be involved, Australia is going to be involved. But that's not what we're doing here, right? We're trying to deter it. The ultimate point here is if you are prepared enough, if allies have integrated deterrence, that's the term now, collective deterrence capability, China will not even think of invading Taiwan.
Still, analysts say the challenges Marcos faces going forward will only get bigger.
For decades, American Jews have been Israel's strongest supporters, from raising money for the nascent Jewish state to encouraging U.S. government support of Israel. But the Israel government's current plan to overhaul the judiciary has some American Jews questioning their support.
Tens of thousands of American Jews marched down New York's Fifth Avenue on Sunday in the annual Celebrate Israel parade. But for the first time, there was a significant contingent of protesters echoing the opposition to the Netanyahu government's judicial overhaul plan that has brought hundreds of thousands of Israeli protesters into the streets for the past 5 months. The plan aims to lessen the power of Israel's Supreme Court, and many American Jewish leaders say they are worried that if passed, Israel will no longer be a liberal democracy.
Many American Jews, like myself, our Jewish identity is very firmly grounded in our relationship with Israel. And people are extremely concerned and wondering if this is the Israel that they have known, loved, supported, and worked for decades and decades.
American Jewish organizations have long supported Israeli governments, including those led for a total of 15 years by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But some analysts say that Netanyahu's current coalition of far-right and ultra-Orthodox parties undermines that support.
Many people are experiencing a kind of extreme distress. They're wondering how they can defend Israel as they would like to do. People who've always been supportive of Israel, people who've donated money to Israeli causes, are now looking at an Israeli government that they find it impossible to support.
In addition to the judicial overhaul plans, laws being proposed by the government's ultra-Orthodox parties threaten to alienate the majority of American Jews who identify with more liberal streams of Judaism.
If things don't change and Israel continues down a path of being less of a democratic state, even less of a Jewish state in terms of a Jewish state for all Jews, reform, conservative, non-practicing, etc., I think then you will start to see people just give up, throw up their hands, walk away.
Some analysts say that the widespread protest movement in Israel against the far-right government policies is inspiring for liberal American Jews.
American Jews are seeing a phenomenon in Israel to which they can actually feel very close, about which they're very excited, which they feel very much that they want to support. Admittedly, it's not the government, but it's a very wide swath of the sectors of Israeli society.
Despite the tensions with this Israeli government, American Jewish leaders hope the relationship between the U.S. and Israel will remain strong. But President Biden has yet to invite Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House, breaking with previous protocol.
Pakistanis traditionally give generously to charity, but most avoid paying taxes. Now, charities are feeling the pressure as donations drop amid record-setting 38% inflation. Low tax collection, meanwhile, hurts economic growth, forcing more to rely on charities for survival.
Every day, thousands of Pakistanis come to one of the Salani Welfare Trust's free food distribution centers spread across the country for a hot meal.
If this free food wasn't available, I would be spending all of my salary on just food.
With an annual inflation rate of almost 38% eating through people's incomes, Salani, one of Pakistan's largest charities, is seeing a rise in daily demand for its free food, but a drop in donations.
Up until a few months ago, I used to get 30,000 pieces of bread made. Now the number has reached almost 42,000. Donations have reduced, but Salani has not cut down its work.
Charitable giving is a big part of Pakistani culture. In a Gallup Pakistan 2021 survey, nearly 76% of the respondents said that they had given money to help someone in the year before. At the same time, the proportion of Pakistanis who pay taxes has always remained dismally low. The country's tax to GDP ratio is below 10%, meaning the government receives less than 10% of the size of the economy in taxes. What most countries need to sustain economic growth, according to experts, is a tax to GDP ratio of at least 15%. In Pakistan, huge sectors such as agriculture, trade, retail, and real estate use political muscle to keep taxes low.
These sacred cows have presence in the parliament. These secretaries have very strong lobby in the military establishment. They are very much entrenched in those who are making the decision.
A complicated taxation system, ineffective implementation, and lack of trust in the government also cause many to evade taxes. Broadening the tax net and increasing collection are among the conditions for reviving a stalled 2019 International Monetary Fund bailout deal. However, authorities will likely miss the target. With Pakistan teetering on the brink of default and millions getting pushed into poverty because of the rising cost of food and fuel, pressure on charities like Salani is growing.
We are very worried that our work may stop, but we'll try our best to prevent that from happening.
Some artificial intelligence tools are presenting problems in Kenya's education system, as in so many others. Some writers who offer academic assistance to students say AI tools are cutting into their business, while professors worry students have new ways to cheat.
Tony Ambola earns a living by completing writing assignments for university students in Kenya and other English-speaking countries. He can write about many subjects except for law, engineering and architecture. However, Ambola says he's getting fewer work requests, a development he blames on the rise of artificial intelligence writing tools. Ambola says he's trying to learn more about his new competitor.
AI has negatively affected our workflow, so that at some point we really got less work. You are afraid if you could meet your bills because there was less workflow. But over the months, I've been able to put myself into working on understanding AI even more and try and avoid the traditional way of getting clients and getting work.
In Kenya, unemployed university graduates often engage in academic writing to earn a living. Some purchase online accounts to connect with students seeking writing services. Writer Kelvin Akumi says AI has not cost him clients so far.
Personally, my work is still the same. I'm still getting work from my clients. Students are still approaching me for academic writing services. So I can say ChatGPT has not affected me at the moment, but we can't predict the future because it's too early. ChatGPT was born, I think, early this year, or sometimes back. So we can't predict because technology is moving so fast.
According to a survey conducted by Study, an online learning platform, 890 out of 1,000 American students surveyed admitted to using ChatGPT for their class assignments. This tool can generate text on various topics and write articles and essays. Some educators are concerned that its usage may compromise academic integrity and hinder students' creative abilities.
And lecturers, we need to see how we can structure this assignment so that students can't just get away with it very easily by copying and pasting work. So we have to be aware of what these tools can do, even as lecturers, and then see how we can guide our students around that so that they use technology as an enabler.
While some universities have prohibited the use of AI tools, others are adopting a cautious approach. Whatever the schools decide, Ambola says he will learn more about AI so he can stay in the business of academic writing.
Moving around metropolitan areas can present challenges for individuals who are obese or have height limitations, as many public spaces are not designed to accommodate their needs. However, a new law adds weight and height to the list of characteristics that are protected from discrimination in New York City.
What do we want? Freedom! New Yorkers are rejoicing over the passing of pioneering legislation that ensures employers cannot refuse to hire individuals based on their weight or height, while also mandating that restaurants and other public venues provide adequate accommodations.
There's other laws in the country, but this is the biggest city to pass one, and it's the first one that's been passed in quite a few years. So it's a really important and exciting day for us.
The impact of the law, which is to take effect November 22nd, offers promise to those who have been affected by such discrimination.
It's very, very joyful. You know, my entire life I've been fat. People have criticized me and people have thought of me as lesser of a human being. And this bill passing, you know, it's the start of people finally recognizing us as just human beings who deserve the same basic rights as everybody else.
Tigris Osborne is the chairperson of the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance, known as NAFA, and expects the New York City law to have an immediate effect.
We will see employers paying more attention to inclusive hiring practices. We will see landlords paying more attention to making sure that they are treating all tenants equally. And we will see everybody who manages spaces thinking more about being accountable if their spaces are not accessible.
Although the law allows for legal action in case of discrimination based on height or weight, Osborne says that is not the primary focus of the group's efforts.
Our goal is not to see more lawsuits. Our goal is actually to see people make changes in their environments so they don't have to be sued. We don't want to see fat litigiousness be the trend. We want to see fat accessibility be the trend.
However, some legal experts say the law passed last month will offer a more accessible legal avenue for people who believe they have been discriminated against.
This is a turning point for discrimination against overweight people and discrimination against short people. We now are able, in many cases, to go at the actual source of the discrimination. So these are viable lawsuits. They weren't viable in the past. I see a lot of states emulating New York City here.
Not everyone shares the view that this law is beneficial.
It's not a helpful message. Americans need help losing weight. Right now, 40% of American adults are classified as obese, and almost 70% of American adults are classified as overweight. We need help losing weight. We should lose weight. Making it easier to be overweight is not exactly helpful right now.
While it's hard to tell the long-term implications of the law, experts anticipate that it will likely become a burgeoning field for labor attorneys as similar legislation spreads to other U.S. cities.
Kashmir Valley in the Indian-administered portion of Kashmir is known for its unique craftsmanship. For centuries, locals learned skills from those who arrived from Central Asia following the arrival of Islam in the region. However, among the hundreds of skills, 3 are in danger of being lost.
Situated on the banks of Jhelum River in Zaina Kettle neighborhood of Srinagar is a 400-year-old workshop. The shop has played a crucial role in preserving and enriching traditional music in the Indian side of Kashmir. Ghulam Muhammad Zaz, a veteran luthier, a craftsman who makes stringed instruments such as santoors, rababs and sarods, dedicated more than 5 decades of his life to carrying on the legacy of his forefathers, who were renowned in the region for making traditional musical instruments. Today, Zaz is the only individual in the valley with the knowledge and expertise to repair and create traditional musical instruments. Because of the cultural practices, the father of 3 daughters could not pass on his skills to his next generation. Moreover, his relatives showed no interest in pursuing their ancestral profession.
I cannot say whether anyone will be able to pursue this profession in the future. I come from a family that had a reputation in this trade, and that is why I chose to learn this craft.
Kashmir is known for its skilled craftsmen who acquired various professions from the influx of people from Central Asia in the 14th century. However, after 7 centuries, the region is witnessing a rapid decline in craftsmen due to the widespread use of machines and a lack of faith in the traditional methods. The Khosgar family is among those facing the extinction of their ancestral trade, believed to have migrated from the Ottoman Empire. Some 500 years ago, Khosgars were experts in creating herbal medicines and syrups for the treatment of various ailments. However, due to the decline in demand for their medicines, the current owner of the shop, Abdul Aziz Khosgar, limited his business to the extraction of rose water using old techniques.
There is only one man left, and a few signs of the heritage, including vessels, jars, and bottles. The shop now resembles a museum.
Ghulam Muhammad Wani, a mustard oil extractor, remembers the days when his town hosted dozens of ox-driven oil mills in the Papur area of South Kashmir. For a brief period, Wani tried other professions because mustard oil extraction did not earn him enough money. Eventually, he returned to mustard oil extraction out of love for the craft. Today, he has only a few customers per day, as people prefer branded products available in the market.
My family urges me to quit, but I tell them that if I can make $2 a day, it will be sufficient for me to run the business.
There has been no effort by the government or community to preserve these crafts. Local experts stress the need for the government to take steps to revive endangered crafts.
There is a need to preserve and save endangered skills for which the government agency and other institutes should develop a well-thought-out plan of action and blueprints.
Sifika emaphethelweni edinzaba entefuta ngephandle kakuleli. Let's take a break. Nasibuya Sifiso sits down with Sibonelo Mamba bakhuluma ngedinzaba de-NBA.
Hey yo, this is DJ Cybers. What's up guys, King J's here.
My name is Tripo Intellectual.
What's up everybody, my name is SK.
Hey guys, this is your girl Z.
This weekend Eswatini has been such an amazing show. For all the years they've always supported all the local talent and all the local shows.
Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Fridays.
It's one of the best entertainment shows Eswatini.
So guys, you know what, this is the best show to have. Like if you watch Swazi TV and you're a person who actually enjoys watching like musical shows that have a lot of content, that have good stuff, This Weekend Eswatini is your show.
For all the good vibes, all the good energy, make sure you tune in to This Weekend Eswatini every Friday from 5:30 to 6:30. I'll say it again, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m.
A 1-hour fun-filled train of entertainment. We are taking you from 5:30 all the way to 6:30 every Friday, live on Eswatini TV.
And yes, of course, we are your #1 entertainment show in the kingdom of Eswatini. But you can interact with us on all social media platforms. We are at This Weekend Eswatini on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. Lalela Tina, we will definitely get back to you. This is your official weekend party starter.
I don't wanna go around singing songs that people don't.
Asiphindze sikwamukele ehlelweni ngwanelo muhle njengoba ke wadi ukuthi njalo ngabolesihlanu ngalesikhathi lesi sikhulumisa dona indzaba demidlalo. Sikhulumisa ke indzaba ye NBA Finals 2023, which is the ongoing championship series of the National Basketball Association, 2022-2023 season. The conclusion to the season's playoffs, we want to know what's happening. The best of 7 playoffs is being played between the Eastern Conference champion Miami Heat and the Western Conference champions, the Denver Nuggets. The series started on the 1st of June with a possible Game 7 scheduled for the 18th of June. The series right now is currently 3 games in, with the Nuggets up 2 games to the Heat's 1 win. And the finals could end as early as June 12th if the Nuggets were to win 4-1. Let's break down each of the 3 games that have been played so far with our in-house basketball analyst, Sibonelo Mamba. It's always lovely to have you here. Now basketball is Jabisa Akul. The finals, I think, they're at a stage where everyone now wants to see what's happening. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic from the Nuggets, and then Jimmy Butler. These other guys are starting to show up to the party. Definitely. Yeah, them snatching away that win. But let's talk about game one first. I want you to greet the viewer, and then we'll just play a visual from the first game, and then we'll talk over it.
Thank you very much, Fiso, and a very good morning to our viewers. Yes, it's the NBA final.
Indeed.
Yes.
Let's just take a look at the visuals from game one. Sorry, we did see the Denver Nuggets winning that game. It was a beautiful game, by the way. Your prediction, by the way, I think your prediction was that the Miami Heat might just steal this series. It's a 7-game series. We'll see. Here's game one. Opening basket by Jamal Murray. A beautiful layup. Of course, everyone expects that to happen. But, you know, quite difficult for the Heat to make an opening basket, but it had to come from that man, Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I think the Denver Nuggets started very well in game one. Remember, they won 104-93.
Right.
They were locked in. The one thing they have, I watched the 2 games.
Right.
They have secret weapons amongst themselves, which we're going to talk about in terms of their forwards.
Right.
Their forwards play a big part in terms of who the Denver Nuggets are.
Right.
In this game, in game one, Jamal Murray and Jokic, they got triple doubles.
Right.
With high numbers in assists, which obviously opens up to the other supporting players for baskets, layups, and 3 shots.
Yeah, but I would argue, sorry to cut you there, this guy, Aaron Gordon, he just made a basket. He was the key ingredient for them, understanding his role to what he contributes to the Nugget squad, defensively and offensively. He's no longer trying to shoot threes like he used to. He's just being a defensive prowess, and he's really showing up on the offensive end.
I think he did have a very good game.
That's him.
Yes, that's a nice one. That's a nice basket.
Yeah.
He did have a very good game, but, you know, Jokic is the focal person.
Right.
In terms of the Nuggets' defense and their attack.
Right.
And Murray is a good support structure.
Yeah.
So the way that the Nuggets are playing, they are obviously advancing the ball to Jokic. And when they lose the ball, Jokic leads in terms of their offensive. In most of the buckets made by the Nuggets, Jokic would try to make attempts at shots, and he'd also rebound if he misses. He'd rebound his own shots as well.
That's very true, but I want us to talk over these clips now. What we are seeing is a lot of mid-range shots coming from the Denver Nuggets. What does that say about the Heat's defense leading up to this series? This is game one. Of course, they leveled up on game 2. But look at how it was easy to score for the Denver Nuggets inside the paint. They're just pulling up.
Now, the Miami Heat's defense was not locked in here. They were very weak defensively in game one. And that obviously allowed the Denver Nuggets to take those shots outside of the arc. And they also gave the Nuggets room. If they're not shooting the 3-pointers, they would attack the rim and get the 2s and get the fadeaways as well.
Right. Denver grabbing this win here by 104 to Heat's 93. That margin, if you've been watching the NBA Finals, that is so hard to regain confidence and to come back and then snatch a win, especially if you're on the road. And that's what the Miami Heat did. What does that say about the Miami Heat?
I wouldn't point it towards the Miami Heats now. The Miami Heats came in game 2.
Right.
But again, they had a fast start in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter as well, they started fading away, giving the Nuggets time to recover. Because in the first quarter, at one point, the Heats were leading plus minus 15. And then in game 3, Nuggets were out of that match.
Yeah.
And in game 4, Duncan Robinson came in, Jimmy Butler came in, and they hit baskets that gave Miami Heat game 2.
Right.
But having said that, Sviso, what I want to highlight is how Jokic was not effective in terms of assists. Because in game 1, he got a triple-double. In game 2, he only came with 4 assists.
Hold it there.
That is where the Nuggets
I want you to hold it there. Here are the highlights from game 2. We see the Miami Heat, again, still on the road, playing in Denver. they look beautiful as an offensive team. And that's really all they needed, because defensively, they play pretty well. On the first game, in game one, they weren't really converting offensively. So this is what they fixed. They came back. They're hitting good shots. That's a nice corner three right there.
That's Caleb.
Yeah. Let's talk about this game. Jamal Murray going back to back and finding, is that green on the on the baseline. It says something about how the Denver Nuggets play their offensive. You did highlight the fact that they are centered around Jokic, and he is such a good player, so much so, even when it's outside the arc, they can use him. Even when he's inside the paint, they can still use him. He's so versatile. What does the Heat have that can at least challenge that?
I think the first change that happened was in the starting lineup in game two.
Right.
We saw Kevin Love being introduced into the game.
And there he is. He just made a good pass.
Yes.
Yeah.
We saw Kevin Love being introduced into the game, and that stabilized the Miami Heat. And another area that they fixed from game one, their three-point shooters. Strus didn't shoot a basket in game one.
Yeah.
But in game two, he did come up with the threes.
Yeah.
And Caleb as well. Caleb Martin also came up with the threes. And they were very good defensively. And it was in the fourth quarter where they finished it off.
You're absolutely right, because we just saw a 24-foot three being hit, which is, and it was from a pick and roll, by the way, meaning that they're engaged as a team that we really need to hit these threes. But how do we help each other open up for these threes? Let's talk about this guy again, Nikola Jokic. For him to be able to post up, to shoot a three, to assist, and to hit a layup like the one that he hit before this three, by the way, this 25-footer, which again, to your point, they really needed those threes. Talk about Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic is the next big icon of the NBA.
Right.
If Bron retires, we expect Nikola Jokic to come up. We obviously know there's also Giannis Antetokounmpo with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
But what Jokic is doing, he's really the generational player, as you highlighted in our last interview. He's he's an all-round basketball player.
We see him getting fouled, going to the line right now. He's such an offensive threat.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And here's the thing about me. I don't like Bam Adebayo's game, but what he did in game two showed me that maybe I can change my opinion about him. He showed up to the party, pulling up on the mid-range, doing what Bam is known for defensively with those blocks, even though he let this one, he let Jamal score that layup.
Bam is, I've watched, having watched the game 2 and game 3, Bam is at the center of the Miami Heat's attack. He's at the center of their defense.
Yeah.
He's actually their key player. What happened in game 2 when Denver Nuggets started recovering, Bam was on the bench. And when Bam was on the bench resting, that was when Denver, the
Here
Nuggets
he comes in with a
advantage.
monstrous
That's a
dunk
beautiful basket.
from a pick and roll.
Yes.
So for a person that doesn't watch basketball like that, this guy Bam gives Kevin Love a screen. He frees Kevin.
Yes.
And then he drives into the lane. Everyone's focusing on Kevin
Love.
on Kyle Lowry. Everybody focusing on Kyle Lowry because of Bam. Bam is now open. He gets what? He gets a pass. He throws a two-hand jam. That is great basketball. That's beautiful basketball. But here's the guy, Aaron Gordon. He was trying to hit, important shots, but the Heat were just the better team in game 2. What do you think is going to sustain the Miami Heat? We'll be looking at game 3's highlights very soon. But before we do that, what do you think, just from your opinion, will be the key thing for the Miami Heat to win these next 2 games or 1 game to make the series exciting?
I think they have to put a tight defense on Jokic first and foremost. But what happened in game 3 was they did try, and most of the time they fouled. They would give away fouls. They also have to put defense on Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
And they've got to come out offensively in terms of their three-point shooters. They've got to, because that is where the Miami Heat suffered in game 3. Their shots were not coming in, and they also failed under the rim in terms of the 2 shots as well.
Right.
So that is where they suffered today.
Yeah. We'll soon look at the clip from Game 3, which was played yesterday. By the way, Central African time, it was early AMs. I know you were up to watch that game, Bonello. But these people have a luxury because they watch it on a European time. So we have to wake up early in the morning.
Definitely.
I'm glad that you watched this game because I do want to hear your sentiments. Here are the highlights. Opening shot, we just saw it from the Denver Nuggets. We see this guy, Nikola Jokic, throwing a lob in front of Kevin Love and Jimmy Butler. That, to me, as a coach, I'm mad at those two players. I don't want that. Inside the paint, we're not supposed to allow that. Let's talk about this game.
Game 3 was very exciting. Miami Heat started off very well, but the Nuggets came in. They showed up today.
Yeah.
Jokic showed up. He got a triple-double. Jamal Murray came in. He also got a triple-double. And I must highlight, Sviso, that what Jokic achieved today, he's the first NBA player to achieve a triple-double in the finals.
Right, right. Yesterday, you mean. Yes. The deal is 30 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists.
Yes.
We've never seen that in the history of the game. And to your point, when you said he's the next big thing, this guy's only, 28 years? 28 years old, playing at this level, meaning that in his peak, shouldn't he get injured, he could be at peak for the next 5 years, for the next 5 seasons. And his AGM, the team's AGM, just needs to do a good job making sure that everyone's conditioned. They have good players that can still compete at this level. Because like I said on game 1, the Nuggets are taking this championship.
I agree with you.
You now agree.
After watching the games, the Nuggets have got...
Oh, man, that's a beautiful...
They've got great plays, as we saw, like you can see on screen. They've got great plays. They contribute. They support each other.
That defensive
even from
play.
The bench.
Yeah.
Even from the bench, they're very good. So now the onus is on the Denver Nuggets because now we are going for game 4. And they're still playing away. But in order for them to finish it off, they've got to win game 4 in Miami and then go back to game 5 in Denver. What I see them doing is they would love to win their first NBA championship at home with their supporters who have rallied behind them through the regular season, who are rallying behind them in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, and the thing is, we speak about Nikola Jokic making history, but this guy that has the ball right now that just did this beautiful pass, Jamal Murray, he also etched himself a triple-double. They were the first 2 pair to do that in an NBA Finals game, regardless of the fact that Nikola's stat line is more impressive. But for them to do that, to your point, as a team, they want to win. You can see the grit. You can see the relentlessness.
Before the game, I listened to their coach, Melon.
Right.
He asked them, remember some of the players, they have won a championship. KCP has won it with the Lakers. He was asking them individually. And what Melon told them before this game, he said they must go out there and enjoy themselves. They must go out there and close it off. And that is what Denver Nuggets did today.
Swanelo, I want us to wrap up this conversation now and look ahead at the next game, where it's being played, and the fact that, everyone has their money on the Denver Nuggets, but it gets tricky now. It gets tricky because game 4 is going to be played on the 9th of June, by the way.
Yes.
The road team will be the Denver Nuggets, just like yesterday's game. But looking at what the Miami Heat did in game 2 when they were playing away, they were able to bounce back. Do we expect them to bounce back again at home?
Miami is a team that we cannot predict. I still maintain that.
Yeah.
We saw them against the Boston Celtics. We saw them. We saw
That's a
them in
great point.
Denver in game 2.
Yeah.
So it's a tough game that we're looking forward to in game 4. You cannot write them off. If they do take their threes, if they appear defensively, they do stand a chance.
Yeah. We will see that on the 9th of June when the Denver Nuggets travel to Miami to try and continue to to advance this lead and have a possibility of taking this NBA championship. My prediction is that the Denver Nuggets will close it in 4 games. Bonello says we cannot really predict yet.
In 5
Miami
games.
Heat in 5 games. You reckon? Yeah, in 5 games. Sorry, you say we cannot predict yet who's going to win it.
They're going to take it in game 5.
In game, okay, at least we agree on that. We agree that the Denver Nuggets will take it in game 5. You can hold us to our word. If we're wrong, it's fine. You were right. But it is an exciting NBA Finals run. Let's enjoy it. Let's go for a net break. Nasbuya, we speak to Patizam CB. A lot of transfers in football and a lot of other exciting news around the football. Don't go anywhere.
Adios.
Ungabukela ke washo umkhukhu every Sunday at 3 p.m.
Welcome back to the program. Let's talk about football news now. Kusile against our basketball. Nasbonelo Patizo joins me now to speak about the 2023 UEFA Europa Conference League final, which was the final match of the 2022-2023 UEFA Europa Conference League, the second season of Europe's tertiary club football tournament organized by UEFA. Sibonile image ledlalwe Fortuna Arena in Prague, Czech Republic on 7 June 2023 between Italian club Fiorentina kanye English club West Ham. West Ham lebeseke yawina 2-1 for their first UEFA Europa Conference League title. What does this mean win for West Ham? Sayikhuluma ke nendzaba UEFA Champions League sibuke nama transfer news, but sesiqale nganayi game lemqanga Patizwe. Very good morning.
Good morning Sifiso, sifusele nakubo babukele emakhaya.
Ndlondlo siyabonga ukuthi usishone ehlelweni. Iwin lenkulu lena for West Ham for multiple reasons, but it would have been bigger apparently according to pundits for Fiorentina. Basho kuthini basho njalo?
Sifiso, if you're looking at the two countries, at least West Ham yavela somewhere ukuthi lokwa yakayewina I think some 58 years ago.
Wow.
Laba bawina khona.
It's a long time.
The European tournament, European trophy,
Sure.
Anything that has to do with European trophy. But bona 43 years since they last won a major trophy in their history. But Fiorentina for them, it's different because bona bawangase bawina
anything at all.
Yeah, bona. So kuwina kwabo lokho kutaba cool. But ungeke ukuthathele pass because of that man David Moyes.
Yeah.
Since aqala ku coach, I think now it's what 20 something years. Uyaqala kuwina a trophy.
Yeah.
Ku career yakhe nje, so lo aqala ku coach. So it means a lot for nayo West Ham kona ngeke bese ukudown player ngokuthi Fiorentina they had more at stake, but nje nayo West Ham ngivanga ukuthi deserve, and both Declan Rice, you're looking at the career they've had, still young, but ngendlela lesebadlale ngayo, for him being captain in his last season with West Ham, because we are Ham. So I think it's a very good thing ukuthi bakhonile kuyiwina. Even but players like Bob Bowen, they've been terrific for West Ham this season, and they deserve something like this. And to
were those your key players on the run to the finals?
Yeah, I think players like Bowen has been consistent for West Ham.
Okay.
So you understand, and he scored the winning goal.
Right.
It just takes the cake with that Swiss. And Declan Rice is one of the best performers for England, not just for his team, but for England as well. So Nagubo Lapo, for English football, in a way, it's big because there's that thing you would see, the Spanish teams are dominating the European football. But now if you look at the next Champions League that's going to be played, or the next round of European games, there are 8 teams from England.
Yeah.
Since West Ham is win the conference, say an automatic tickets to Europa League, and now you have Aston Villa coming in go conference that so joining. So 4 teams at the Champions League, 3 teams at the Europa, 1 team at the conference. So
what I like about football is the incentive is not just the cup. You then qualify for something else for the next year, which is beautiful. So congratulations to Unai West Ham for winning UEFA Europa League. We're going to talk about the UEFA Champions League now, which is the final between Manchester City and Inter, which will take place at Istanbul's Ataturk Olympic Stadium Saturday this weekend, like 10 June 2023. Manchester City and Inter Milan will meet in the final for the first time. But, you know, it was a funny run. City booked their final spot at the expense of Real Madrid, while the Nerazzurri progressed as a result of a 3-0 aggregate defeat at City's rivals AC Milan. Masemi Patiz, Yati Bonagali run to the final, the road to the finals. Would you say it was an easier road for Inter than it was for City. Which road was easier?
Well, if you're looking at it like that, so you'll say Inter even Lingono. I don't want to say easy because for Inter and AC Milan, that's a big fixture.
Sure.
It's easy if Ubuga from far, but in terms of European competition, AC Milan hasn't been doing well, and sometimes they qualify. So now coming in, Ibuile Patiang Inter Milan.
Yeah.
Inter Milan, they played well. They deserve to be here.
Okay.
But Velemabuga the road. Manchester City, they had to deal with the big guns. They had to deal with the big guns in terms of European football.
It's a strategic question, Patiso, because I think that then puts them out odds at 10. Who's likely to win the final? And as much as I know, it's a new game, everything.
No, on paper, so everyone will say City.
Yeah.
On paper, City is winning.
And are
this
you
game.
part of everyone?
Well, I'll say based on odds and based on statistics and all that, City might win, but I wish for Inter to win for many reasons. But if you look at the record, Inter Milan,
yeah.
I'd say I'd give them the trophy. I'd give Inter Milan the trophy. If I was a betting person, I'd say Inter Milan to take it for many reasons.
What is the most important reason, Lava? There should be this one compelling reason, longer winning argument. Because I feel like challenging you.
I remember City and Chelsea in my finals.
Yeah.
Pep waqabanga too much in the game.
Yes.
And made mistakes. I'm afraid he's gonna do the same thing. Because
what makes you think utawufuna cabanga too much sakawine kangaka this season? I think he's on his groove, whereby he's like, okay, we found our winning formula.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead with it. And we've faced Real Madrid, which was to me the final for UEFA. This is it's just another game.
But then again, you're facing an intelligent team.
Yeah.
They are known for their defensive work.
Yes.
They put in the shift. And they have players who can hurt you. There are players like Bo Lukaku.
Sure.
And if you're looking at England and you're looking at the players like Manchester City going into these finals, they have Inter Milan players like Bo Lukaku who are bully. It's bully like Lukaku, who's got physically and pace-wise. So I think now it gives another perspective to the game. They still Bo Martinez from Inter Milan, who are very, very dangerous now. And Bonzeko, they are coming in from the bench, and Zeko played for Manchester City. He knows Manchester City, so he wants to prove a point. He wants to say, "Ngwinena championship in Manchester City," and so there is no other way. On paper, I'll say this again. On paper, Manchester City, they got the better players, they got a better team, but.
They have. If I think I was having this conversation with you, Patis. Just I'll move on. By the way, my transfers. You said the only second person that could maybe be a conversation with Ballon d'Or outside of Messi could be Erling Haaland, who's not even the best player in Manchester City.
Yeah.
I think that statement alone is so huge. You have your Kevin De Bruyne, you have your Grealish,
you have your Kondan. I think Silva.
Yeah.
Those are the players that can make the difference. And then there are those who are underrated, the likes of Rodri, the likes of Stones. They have a solid team. Make no mistakes. They have a solid team. But on the other side, even in Inter Milan, they have solid players. You're talking of Dumfries. You're talking of Onana. Onana on these days is unbeatable.
Okay.
So they have a very, very good squad.
Let's put it to bed. You've made your prediction. Inter Milan and Manchester City. We'll talk again next week. Karim Benzema announced his departure from Real Madrid on a free transfer last weekend. The 35-year-old joined Saudi Arabia champions Al Ittihad, managed by Nuno Espirito Santo. Al Ittihad finished 5 points ahead of Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr. First of all, I think it's congratulations to Benzema for a great record with Real Madrid.
Yeah.
What are sentiments to him as a player and his
I loved
history?
him. I loved him when he was playing at Lyon in France. Before he was supposed to actually go to Manchester United in England.
Yeah.
Until the last minute, so I decided to go. Zidane, I think, had an influence. Why I go Madrid and the career legabenayo. And if Madrid, they appreciate him more because he took a back seat for Ronaldo to shine.
Okay.
He took that back seat and he allowed Ronaldo to shine, and he waited for his time. And once Ronaldo left the team, he stepped up and he won Ballon d'Or even.
Yeah, I want us to talk about McAllister to Liverpool, but I just want your quick one there. Gutseni, Kufia kwa Benzema lapa. Do you think that team will now rival Cristiano's team as much as they played better than? Yes,
they won before Ronaldo. I know we're running out of time, but before Ronaldo, I figure we Al Nassr. they were leading by, I think, 6-7 points.
Yeah.
But they catched up. So the team is already good. Okay. Imagine they adding Benzema, they adding Golo Kante as well.
Fair.
Yeah.
We don't have time. Let's talk about McAllister from Liverpool. McAllister. Let's talk about McAllister's transfer.
Man, that man just won the World Cup.
Yeah.
He was one of the key players for Argentina during the World Cup. And go Brighton, he was that player who you go to when the team is down.
Yeah.
I remember he scored that goal against Manchester United. It was a penalty. In that situation, in last minute, you'll want a player, learn a character. And I think he is that player. My only worry with players from Brighton this season, from Brighton Alpenhoven, they play so well as a team. I just wonder if they're going to be able to replicate that performance once they are taken out of that Brighton team.
We're going to see that, but I think this is the biggest topic of conversation because in a uncertainties lamaning, but we've seen that Messi commitment here, it's Inter Miami, David Beckham's team in America.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone?
Yeah, he's gone. And he released a statement, saying the only reason I go to Barcelona, it's a lot of things, but among those things, we would say the deal was just too complicated for him.
Yeah.
Because if they were signing him back, he didn't want to be part of that. Inter Miami.
Patizwe, thank you so much for your time. Great having your insights on Flag Seni. Tapin this now again next week. Patizwe, because niketa my insights ngebhola. Let's go for a net break. Nasibuya siqhubeka nehlelo.
Are they yours?
Ngabukela ke washa umkhukhu every Sunday at 3 p.m.
All right, Mugeli, welcome back. Simakhulu ukuthi isolweni ihleli nathi sonke lesikhathi lesingaka sethemba ukuthi futhi nikuthokodele kuba nathi lo mhlahlelweni sesinivalelisa nje sethemba ukuthi indaba nempela somvo lenhle nalebo sisekele konikhumbuta nje ukuthi ngemsombuluko evikini lelitako litiko letempilo litabe lisukumisa ngalo semthethweni kurola out ko HPV vaccine bese kuthi mhla ka 14 on the next day Tuesday liyaqala ke liyaphuma liya etikolweni liyojova bantwana labangabantu abadala.
Yeah, longelele ngizabe HPV vaccine inzaba lenkulu kakhulu evenda kangwane njengoba ke it's a life saver of a vaccine siyethemba ukuthi badala sebaqalile ke kuqhutela abantu ababo ekutheni bayithatha le HPV vaccine. We have played our role nathi ku demystify one mamits la ngaba khona mayelana nayo le vaccine lena ukuthi it is very safe as it has been assured by Kusile epidemiologist lapha ehlelweni on the previous Wednesdays lesibenawo lapho khona bese ikhulumisa khona sithemba ukuthi ngonelo muhle utawuhlala ekhaya kule mphela sonto weekend lesibuya kuyevikini leliphelile very busy kakhulu maswati asekaka nje advance umoya ahlale phasa abukele umsakazo wethu Eswatini TV lo taba naletinye inhlelo longati enjoy nje imphela sonto yonke. Otherwise from myself and the lovely Lungelele, we'll see you next week on Monday. Bye bye.
Kwaphinza kwaba imvokodo umbukeli ukuthi ngakuthulela luhlelo lakho libhola eSwatini luhlelo lolu lungena njalo ngabolesine likanzi kulohlelo nje mbukeli sikulethela tindzaba tayo ibhola libhola letinyawo phela mbukeli kulokwentekile ngempela somvo nalokwentekile emkhatsini weliviki nalokutawenteka kuyo phela impela somvo kanzi libito lami ngilinda ngimaster wakadlamini ngibambele na ke na Fabrice Msonera solo nje lijala sekhaya lise holidayini lisaphumlile lisangcebelekile kodwa mina nawe mbukeli ngithoba nje lokukhulu ngakulethela sitawuhlala nawe leli hour lelitaba khona ngikucathatele ukuthi ngabe kwentekani vele etindzabeni tebhola kungabi nje ibhola lapha ekhaya kuphela kodwa ke ngidawucala a very special guest all the way from America ngidakucathatela ukuthi ngabe utengani vele lapha ekhaya ngidabe sesingiyagijima ngiyayilanza ke yona labe kune press conference khona Esgwaca House kusendlungulu yelibhola letinyawo lapha ekhaya lapho khona mengameli wayo inhlangano emidlalo lebhola lapha ekhaya Peter Samura Smelana bekabite betindzaba phela kutothi nje asebakhulumisane ngoba thine betindzaba siyindlebe siliso lakho mbukeli lapho ekhaya basibitile ke ukuthi asike sitoti butela ukuthi ngabe vele kuchubeka kanjani khona lapha endlungulu yebhola bekakhona ke naye lokungabhalani lomkhulu kuyo lenhlangano lo CEO Frederick wakamngomezulu naye asita yena mengameli kuphendvula nje limbuto licembu le-West Ham itolo linqobe i-UEFA Conference League first time i-West Ham inqoba European competition first time i-trophy yakhe yena David Moyes as a coach ku career leseyibeyinze kangaka siyamkhumbula ku Everton siyamkhumbula ku Manchester United siyamkhumbula futhi aya ku Spain kodwa ke akaza kuthola lokhu lakwenile itolo against Fiorentina yakhona eTaliana kodwa ke mbukele angakumoshela isikhathi ngiyathi ukuthi unethetekile lapho la uhleti khona ngenteka kubuhleti kusofa wakho uhleti lapha e-sitting room noma uhleti labanye bayibathanze kubukela mabona kutse base ekamerweni labo ngiyabona noma uphethe icingo lakho ubukela ka YouTube noma ke ku Eswatini TV app uyayibukela lihlelo lakho luhlelo leli libhola eSwatini njengoba ngishilo kodwa ke angamoshi isikhathi ngibana lo mhle ngutshelile ukuthi tonight I have a very special guest all the way from America. His name is Rob Fisher. Rob, when I tell Maswati that there is a guest all the way from America, it raises their hopes that, oh man, finally, there can be that one player who can play maybe at the MLS. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
The last player to represent Eswatini at the MLS, Mfana Taribo Pembe, I think over 10-15 years ago.
Okay.
Since then, it's drought. It's a drought.
Yeah.
Please raise the hopes of Eswatini. Why are you in Eswatini?
So I'm here because I've started a football scouting nonprofit called Fisher Talent Group. You can check us out at www.fishertalent.com. You can follow our socials. Most of them are at Fisher Talent or Fisher Talent Group. And so we are establishing a youth talent database. So we're a football scouting nonprofit, and we are starting in Eswatini. We don't, we're not a player agency. We don't broker deals. We don't